Hello, everyone on Facebook land. Welcome to the NMAC Facebook page. We are joining you today to share some information about a really important project, Escalate. So welcome. Be sure to share this link, invite your friends to join because we want to make sure that we share this information with as many people as possible. My name is Terrell Parker. My pronouns are he and L, and I'm an associate manager here at NMAC in our Center to End the Epidemics. I'm joined here by two of our partners. I'll allow them to introduce themselves and then we'll get started with today's discussion. Elise, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Sure. Thank you, Terrell. Hi, everyone. My name is Elise, and I'm an analyst at Abt Associates. And for the purpose of Escalate, I am going to be a technical assistance coach. And I'm really excited to tell you more about that program. And my pronouns are she, her.
Thank you, Elise. Thank you for joining us today. We can't wait to hear more about technical assistance and hopefully how people can get involved with Escalate. Chris, would you like to introduce yourself next?
Hi, folks. Chris LaRose, NORC. My pronouns are he and him, and I'm a research scientist, senior research scientist here at NORC. For the purposes of Escalate, I am the Learning Collaboratives team lead, and I will also be a Learning Collaborative or LC liaison. So I'm excited to tell you about the options that we have for organizations who want to be involved in peer-to-peer learning about HIV stigma reduction activities.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for joining us as well. So Chris and Elise are here to share information about 2 tracks for the Escalate project, but I'm here to just provide an overview and a welcome to you all so that you can get an understanding of what is Escalate. I'm pretty sure you've seen the emails, maybe you've seen the newsletters go out, maybe you've heard people talking about it in your community, and we're here today to share more information about how you can get involved because this is really important, game-changing work, and we hope that this will put us one step closer to ending the HIV epidemic in the United States, which is the goal of work that we're doing. So, what is Escalate, might you add? Escalate stands for Ending Stigma Through Collaboration and Lifting All to Empowerment. Escalate trains and builds the capacity of participants to first, be able to recognize HIV-related stigma, and secondly, be able to address HIV-related stigma within the Ryan White HIV/AIDS program. So what does this mean? What does this look like in community, and how does this relate to the work that we're doing? The purpose of Escalate is to reduce stigma for people living with HIV, and is to reduce stigma on multiple levels throughout healthcare delivery system, including on an individual client, organization, and a systems level. Escalate also focuses on implementing various stigma-reducing approaches with an emphasis on increasing cultural humility and care and treatment settings for people with HIV within the Ryan White HIV/AIDS program. So what does that mean? We know that people experience stigma. We've heard this anecdotally. We hear it when people come into our clinics. If you've ever sat on a Ryan White Planning Council or a planning body, then you hear people living with HIV share their stories and their experiences of HIV stigma. We know that people experience HIV-related stigma in the community. Sometimes people feel HIV-related stigma at the pharmacy when they're going to pick up their medications. HIV has been around for 40 years now. Since the beginning of the HIV epidemic, we have had to deal with HIV-related stigma as a barrier for people getting into care and also for people engaging in care as well. So we know HIV stigma is real. We know that it impacts people living with HIV, and we know the ramifications of what happens when HIV-related stigma goes unchecked. So Escalate is a really unique program and a really unique opportunity, the first of its kind, to systematically address HIV-related stigma. As we talk about ending the HIV epidemic in the United States, we have to talk about reducing and eliminating HIV-related stigma. Because in my personal opinion, we can't eliminate the HIV epidemic if we don't eliminate HIV-related stigma. Something also to consider for Escalate is that we've had a really significant amount of community involvement in the creation of Escalate from the beginning. Central to the focus of Escalate is community involvement and cultural humility, Because we know that HIV-related stigma is multidimensional, it's intersectional, it intersects with racism, sexism, xenophobia, homophobia, transphobia. HIV-related stigma does not exist on its own. So we thought that it was important for us to include people living with HIV and people from these affected communities as subject matter experts. So we've partnered with over 60 subject matter experts throughout the course of this project. All of those subject matter experts come from impacted communities. Throughout every aspect of Escalate, including the design of the curriculum and the content, to our marketing materials, to everything, we have intentionally made sure that we include community involvement. If you've heard about Escalate, you know that there are 3 tracks for Escalate. There is an innovative training for individuals working within the HIV workforce and people living with HIV. There is technical assistance, and then there's also learning collaboratives. Each track of Escalate was designed specifically with the intention to reach people working within the Ryan White care system at every level. So that means there's a place for you, whether you're a front desk worker, a community health worker, a social worker, a nurse, a CEO of a federally qualified health center, if you're a community member, a planning body member. We hope that after today, you'll learn a little bit more about Escalate, you'll take it back to your community, and you will see how you and your organization specifically can be involved with Escalate. There is a place in Escalate for everyone. I'm a firm believer in that because we all can benefit from learning this information that's vitally important to our work in reducing stigma and eliminating the HIV epidemic in the United States. So that's enough talking for me because I'm tired of hearing my own voice and hearing myself talk. So let's bring our partners into the conversation. So Elise, Chris, thank you for joining us. I'm going to ask you a few questions. These questions are common questions that we get in email communication from our constituents so far. So we just want to hear directly from you some of the questions that people most commonly ask. So I'll start with the basic question that most people ask. What is technical assistance and what is a learning collaborative? Elise, let's start with you. What is technical assistance?
So technical assistance is essentially time-limited and tailored individualized support to support your organization in addressing HIV stigma. So we will be providing a one-on-one TA coach. I'm a TA coach, which is exciting, to work with your organization to create a work plan that would involve an organizational assessment. We provide monthly check-ins. We basically want to help your organization address any challenges that you've identified that are related to HIV stigma. So it could be something as maybe kind of apparently small, though I would argue it's not so small, as like creating new intake forms to be more inclusive of all gender identities. Or it could be trying to develop your own trainings for other organizations, staff in your organization that are maybe not super up to speed with how we speak about TA. Maybe it's addressing your current policies and practices throughout your organization to make it more inclusive and less stigmatizing. So those are all examples of some of the work that we might help you with, but essentially you tell us what you'd like to work on and we provide the support and the help on that.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing more information about technical assistance and also for giving those great examples for how people may be able to engage with technical assistance. Chris, tell us more about learning collaboratives. For some folks, it seems like this is the unfamiliar concept. Tell us more about learning collaboratives.
So learning collaboratives are essentially collaboratives of organizations that get together to learn about a given topic in a collaborative sort of fashion. They're learning about it together, but it's over a certain length of time. They're typically longer than the average sort of a TA engagement. And so in our case, we're looking at something that's going to be about 14 to 18 months. What typically happens is you've got a topic for the learning collaborative. The topic for our first learning collaborative is going to be applying cultural humility to HIV stigma. Organizations will create teams, typically including a sort of a change agent and a number of other members that have chosen to work on this topic at their organization. We'll pull groups like that, teams from different organizations, into learning sessions. We'll discuss, an aspect of that topic, and then the organizations have an opportunity to apply what they've learned to the programs at their organization over what we call an action period, and that's followed by another sort of learning session. We've got, I think, 3 or 4 learning sessions for our learning collaborative for Escalate, and 3 action periods during which organizations can implement and test out what they're learning in the learning sessions.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. You spoke a little bit about the commitment that folks are expected for learning collaboratives. Can you just go over those again? So folks are expected to participate for how long, and about how many hours per month would you expect folks to contribute if they participate in learning collaboratives?
So it's a little bit harder for us to specify hours per month with the learning collaboratives, because our action periods are about 3.5 months long. But if I was to sort of average this out overall, I'd probably say 6 to 8 hours. Our learning sessions are going to be, or 6, maybe even as much as 10 hours. Our learning sessions are going to be, 4.5 hours each. You'll go away from that. You'll have a check-in with your LC liaison, which could be somebody like me. You'll actually implement a stigma reduction initiative during that time, but that's your organization's stigma reduction initiative, and the amount of time that you choose to spend on that is associated with the intensity of that particular effort. We're also offering Affinity group webinars. We're hoping to put organizations into smaller groups that we're referring to as affinity groups. They're based on common characteristics. If it's they're working with the same population, or they're using similar methods, we'd put them into an affinity group with an LC liaison to assist them, and we'd have webinars specific to that content, to that affinity group, that would be offered between each of the learning sessions during an action period. So, in total, with filling out evaluation forms, with filling out what we were referring to as PDSA worksheets, Plan, Do, Study, Act worksheets, it's about 6 to 10 hours a month.
Awesome, thank you. And Elise, you mentioned that technical assistance is time limited. So how long can folks expect to engage in technical assistance?
Yeah, great question. So we are planning to do a TA period of 9 months. And similar to the Learning Collaborative, we will be asking our organization to put together a stigma reduction team. That's going to be 3 to 5 people in our organization that kind of represent a diverse range of roles, seniority. We also really encourage front client-facing staff, and then, of course, people who represent the population for which we are doing this work for, so people living with HIV. And we, again, kind of like Chris said, it's a little bit hard to identify an exact number of hours, but we are asking for a total commitment from each member of the stigma action team of about 3 to 5 hours a month. And what that participation would look like is engagement in live virtual meetings with the one-on-one coach, organizational check-ins at least once monthly. We're going to be providing trainings that are the duration and topic of which are going to be determined in your individual organization's work plan, which is going to kind of be the charter for the whole program. So it's going to be very dependent on what your organization needs and wants. There's also going to be some times when we might ask you to fill out surveys, tell us how we're doing. And so that is really a way that we can adapt and be more flexible to what you need as an organization and kind of grow over time so we can help you better.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing more insight. It sounds like TA is a great opportunity to get help, not just one-time assistance, but over a length of time for your organization. So thank you for sharing that information. Chris and Elise, either one of you can answer this question. We get this question quite often. Folks try to see, where do I fit into Escalate? So maybe you can talk a little bit about who qualifies for technical assistance versus who qualifies for a learning collaborative.
So if I could jump in, I mean, we're essentially looking for organizations and organizational teams. And it depends on where those organizational teams are in terms of their readiness to implement a stigma reduction initiative. If you're getting ready, if you're in the planning stage, if you are, sort of trying to figure out all the select an intervention, select a particular model or a strategy or tool, I feel like, and at least please correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like that's more, the folks that would be, eligible for and could benefit from technical assistance. If you're at the point where you've got a plan and you're ready to kick it off and you want to learn from other organizations who are doing the same type of thing, or you've already kicked, things off. You've already begun your stigma reduction initiative, but you're running into challenges adapting it to your local circumstances. That's a case where you might be, you might benefit more from participation in a learning collaborative. You're going to learn from other organizations who are either going through or have gone through the same challenges that you're encountering. And you're going to learn from subject matter experts, on the topic of cultural humility and applying it to HIV stigma. So it's sort of, what stage you're at. That to me, defines whether you're eligible for TA or would benefit from a learning collaborative. Elise, your thoughts?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you're not sure where your organization fits in terms of if you think you'd be a better fit for the LC or TA, you can certainly ask us. But I think NMAC has made it really helpful in that we're asking you to fill out an application that is joint for both the TA and the LC programs. And so we will be able to kind of evaluate based on your responses and based on what you've identified, where you are in the process, where we think your organization can fit in. So I think that is a really kind of helpful way to get into the program. And similar to what Charles said at the beginning, there's really no wrong door here. We want to find a place for everyone in Escalate, whether that be in training TA or LCs. And so we will work with you to help you identify where that might be.
I want to just jump in and just add a little bit more to what Elisa said. We're available to consult on applications before you submit them. So if you have questions now, we're actually going into a period in the next few days to a week or so where we're reaching out to organizations. If you have questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to us, and we can have someone from the TA side as well as from the LC side jump on a call with you, help you through your application process, and potentially help you select which side, which arm of Escalate you feel that your organization would be most ready for.
Awesome. Thank you both for answering that question. You may have already touched on this somewhat in your initial answer, but Elise, what would you say are the benefits, the most significant benefits one can expect from participating in technical assistance?
Well, hopefully there's a lot of benefits, or we think there's a lot of benefits. So on the ground level, we're really hoping that you will get opportunities, or we know you will get opportunities to learn from experts. So we are going to be your TA coaches, but we're also working with subject matter experts, people who have really been in the field for a long time and can provide their expertise directly to your organization with us as well. And we want to provide coaching to overcome hurdles. Maybe there's a problem that you've identified in your organization and you're just not sure. Maybe you've tried to talk to higher ups, maybe you've tried to strategize, but there's still kind of some sticking points. We really want to provide that coaching to help you overcome that hurdle. We also will provide you with tools to evaluate your progress. We really want to help make this sustainable. And I think, Chris, on the LC side, learning collaboratives, that's something that's also really important. How can we take these programs that are implemented, these anti-stigma programs, and make them sustainable and make them long lasting? And I think kind of at a broader level, the goals are really just to help you create stronger, more effective, and more responsive programs. We think that our training and our TA and LC program can help your organizations address gaps in practice, translates evidence to practice, and really achieve common goals that we're all working towards in ending the epidemic. And also just kind of reducing the time between innovation and implementation is something that TA can really help with. We are hoping that we can help you speed up in an effective and appropriate way. I have this idea for a way to address stigma, or I have this challenge, I'm not sure what to do about it, to actually implementing something that's going to take that head on. And that's what we're really focused on. So I think there's a lot of benefits for your organization, and I think you should apply for TA.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Chris, from your perspective, what benefits can folks expect from participating in learning collaboratives?
I mean, they're actually fairly similar to what Elisa said. We're looking at providing tools, providing strategies that organizations can apply to stigma reduction activities or stigma reduction initiatives. That they're implementing, and as a result, we anticipate that those stigma reduction initiatives are going to be stronger. They're going to be more responsive to the community, and that there hopefully will be the opportunity, if you're starting something small, to spread it across the organization. I think the other important thing, I might have mentioned this at the beginning, is we're looking at applying a quality improvement rubric called the Plan, Do, Study, Act approach or system. And with that, what we're hoping to encourage organizations to do is to identify a particular tool or practice that they feel is going to have an impact on how clients at their organization perceive stigma or feel that they're being stigmatized, that they're going to find ways to test out that tool, that strategy, that practice, to find to figure out how effective that tool or practice is, and then either adapt, adopt, or discard that practice. And assuming that with adaptation and adoption, that it's going to become part of the way that organization runs overall. And then ultimately, improve the way that stigma is handled or addressed at that organization.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. How can people get involved if they would like to complete an application for Escalate?
So you can go to targethiv.org/escalate. That is where our main application lives. If you have other questions or want to get involved and aren't sure how, you can email us at the email address that was just on the screen, which is escalate@nmac.org. Oh, yep, right there. And if you have specific questions about learning communities and or TA, you can get in touch with Chris and I directly, but you will be directed towards us. So if you email escalate@nmac.org and say, I think I might be ready for a learning collaborative, but I'm not sure. Like Chris said, we are really wanting to provide assistance to you during the application process, because we want you to be successful in figuring out what program you want.
There's a ton of information on the targethiv.org/escalate site on both technical assistance and learning collaborative. So we encourage you to visit that site, read through that, complete an application.
Absolutely. And the application deadline for anyone is September 3rd. This is our final application deadline for the first cohorts for technical assistance and learning collaboratives. So please be sure to sign up and don't miss the opportunity. Anything else that you think people should be aware of just in general as they prepare for Escalate and prepare to do their anti-stigma work?
So one of the questions that I've seen before is, how do organizations, or how do people who might be in, a particular part of the Ryan White program, encourage their organizations or the organizations that serve them to apply? I think we've got some information on the targethiv.org/escalate webpage that will definitely help with that. It's a way to convince organizations to do it. For instance, if you're part of a Part A planning body, you may be one of the clients who's part of that Part A planning body, and you may not be working for an organization, but you definitely have organizations that serve you, and organizations that are funded under Part A, are able to participate. One of the things that I recall from my days with planning bodies and planning councils is there's a need to do a needs assessment on a regular basis. And part of that needs assessment can look at whether clients are feeling stigmatized by the organizations that are serving them. If that's come up as part of your Part A planning body work, then you can take that to the organization and say, hey, you guys aren't doing so great. Here's an opportunity to do better. And I think that's the important thing, that this is not about exposing challenges with folks and just sort of letting it sit there. This is an opportunity to help organizations around us do better.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. Someone also asked a question. How do you plan on expanding what Escalate provides in upcoming years? I think that's great. I can talk at least from the training perspective. We announced our first round of Escalate trainings, but that only included 3 dates. We have identified 10 to 12 training dates that will run from November of 2021 until August of 2022. So we will have that information posted on targethiv.org/escalate by September 1st. So by September 1st, you will be able to go to Target HIV to see future training dates for Escalate. We also want to highlight that Escalate in Espanol is coming next year as well. We do have plans to offer the Escalate program training 100% in Spanish in year 2 as well. So when we launch the new dates on Target HIV, we will also include the dates where we will be doing trainings in Spanish, and we will also have a Target HIV page that is 100% in Spanish as well, because language justice is important for us, and we are working to make sure we increase access to Spanish-speaking populations. So that's one thing that you can expect next year coming from NMAC, is the inclusion of Escalate in Espanol.
On the TA side, so one of the many cool things about being in the TA program is once you complete your TA program, you do have the opportunity to then join a learning collaborative. And so that, again, helps kind of sustain whatever stigma reduction intervention that you did, which is awesome, and allows you to knowledge share and learn from others who did similar projects. As far as upcoming years, so the second TA cohort will start in March 2022. And we also are doing a very robust evaluation on this program. And that is why we're going to be gathering information from you as recipients. We're going to be looking at the program across the board as a whole. And we have an awesome team who's in charge of that. And so that's going to really help us dig in and figure out what are ways that we can continue to improve. And I think quality improvement is such a big part of this. Yeah. Chris, I don't know if you want to add anything.
I would add that we're doing one learning collaborative in 2021 and 2022. We're hoping to start another one in 2023 and run it until 2024. And that learning collaborative, it's going to be focused on another topic related to HIV stigma, not necessarily cultural humility. That topic will be selected based on the applications for the second learning collaborative. But that learning collaborative will also be bigger. We're hoping to have 16 organizations in the second learning collaborative.
Thank you, Chris. And we have another question from our chat box. What is a lesson you hope people take away from the program?
Well, where my head went first, because I used to be a clinician at an outpatient clinic, and oftentimes was extremely frustrated by kind of a lack of organization-wide change. You know, you're just one individual, or it feels like you're just one person or just a few people who are really committed to this cause, and that can be really frustrating. And I think my hope is that Escalate can provide a path towards actually making that organization level change. A shift in culture is possible, and that's really what we're hoping for. And despite the kind of maybe day-to-day frustrations or going up against higher ups who might not understand, we really want to take innovation and help you put it into action and show that these, again, organization-wide changes are possible for the betterment of community and society and the people that we're serving.
And I would say that often, folks think about stigma as the other epidemic that we're facing on top of HIV. And I think, there's other pandemics that we're currently facing as well. What I like about Escalate, what gives me hope about Escalate, is by taking action at sort of the team level, the organizational level, that gives us the opportunity to hopefully have impact at the systems level and have a significant impact, put a significant dent in stigma as the additional epidemic.
Thank you. And I would just say from my perspective, kind of align with Elise in understanding that the change is real. I know we talk about HIV-related stigma. We see the impact, and for so long, we didn't have the resources and the tools to adequately address stigma. So I would just say I want people to walk away knowing that it is possible for us to systemically reduce HIV-related stigma, whether that's in our clinics, our planning bodies, our organizations, our community. And also, I want people to walk away knowing that they will have the tools and the resources that they need to create the change that they want to see. And any other questions before we wrap up our Facebook Live discussion today? Any burning questions from anyone, any of our viewers? If not, it's been great talking with you all. And feel free to email us, as we mentioned earlier, NMAC@escalate.org. We will respond to you very quickly. We will create an opportunity for you to speak with one of our partners or us at the NMAC team if you have any questions related to the Escalate training, technical assistance, or learning collaboratives. This is an amazing opportunity. We really hope you take advantage and get involved with Escalate. Thank you for joining, and we look forward to receiving your application by September 3rd. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.